are you doing?
Wonderful. Hi,
Good.
Jason.
I love the wall
We
of
did
fame there
it.
with all the magazine covers. It brings back memories.
Yeah, it's fun. There's some Olympia stuff.
It looks great. So
It's fun.
for people out there who aren't familiar with you, why don't you give us kind of like a little backstory on how you got into fitness? Maybe like even start like real young.
Okay, so I'm 55 this year, and I started as a child being athletic. Like I was always in any kind of sprinting, um, anything as a kid. Like I loved all kinds of athletic stuff. We water skied growing up. I tried out for the SeaWorld ski team and actually got accepted to be on the ski team, but they ended up moving the training. I was 15
Mm.
and they moved, or 16, one of the two, but they moved the training to Florida, and I couldn't go during school to learn all of it. And I just didn't get back to that, but that was a fun opportunity, the trick skis and all that. I've self-taught gymnastics, barn work always. My mom and I had horses,
Mm.
and after my freshman year of high school, cheerleading tryouts were that summer, and my mom basically said, "Well, you can either do cheerleading this summer, or you can continue showing your horses, but you can't do both."
Mm.
I mean, nowadays kids get to do like what as many athletic events they want, but we did live way out in the country, and I did have responsibilities with my horses, and I chose horses. So
Mm.
I never tried out for cheerleading, but that I tell that story because moving into fitness, when I started competing in fitness, there's a lot of gymnastics people that had gymnastics background, and so I know that a lot of people will look at my videos from my competition in the fitness arena and think that I was a gymnast, but I was like, no, I didn't take dance. I didn't take gymnastics. I learned everything in my 20s.
Mm.
Outside of what I learned and what I self-taught my gymnastics, I did it, but it wasn't like technically correct. Like I couldn't even do a correct cartwheel,
Wow.
like
Wow.
like technically correct. So I did start taking gymnastics in my late 20s, which helped tremendously when I was in the professional league. Now, just taking a step back, that's always a fun little story to tell because I was on a recording last week, and there were three other pro fitness girls on there. One was 22, one was 27, I think. The other one is Oksana, who's won 5 Olympias, fitness Olympias,
Wow.
and
Wow.
it was me. And so we were discussing all this. All of them had a tremendous background in dance, cheerleading, and specifically gymnastics. I ended up going into a gym. I met a guy who was a trainer at a local gym here in San Antonio, and I went to the gym, and he started teaching me about weightlifting. And then there was probably a magazine there. We were looking through it one day, and we're talking, this is 1991, the beginning of 1991.
Mm.
And we saw probably a 3 or 4 page spread of the Fitness USA Nationals. Marla
Mm.
Duncan had won, and I was intrigued. I'm like, what is this? So I probably might have torn out the pages of the magazine, and there was a ad at the end for you to purchase the VHS tape of the show, and then they had a list of upcoming competitions for that year, and I thought maybe I should try this. There was 3 rounds. There was a round for the physique. There was a fitness round where they said you need to show flexibility, strength, and fitness, basically.
Mm.
And the girls on the stage, some that were doing gymnastics, but some of them, the girl that won, Marla, she was doing running in place, jumping jacks. I think she did like 1 or 2 walkovers, push-ups,
Mm.
sit-ups. She was not this, big gymnast,
Mm.
kind of routine, and she won. There's 3 parts, and the third round was a gown round. So this was actually a pageant, like a
Mm.
fitness pageant, and
Mm.
you had to walk on the stage in your heels and your gown, and you had to give your philosophy of fitness in a microphone, and you had 45 seconds to deliver this, what your philosophy of fitness is,
Mm.
which, at that year, that year I was 20. So what is my philosophy of fitness at 20?
Mm.
But I ended up having a lady that was a pageant coach sponsor me. I used to be really good and still am of getting sponsors. And I had a sponsor with a woman here in town, and she helped girls get ready for pageants. So she taught me how to walk in heels, how to wear a gown. She helped me pick out a gown that looked nice on me and where to go for that. And she taught me and helped me with my presentation for my 40, because at 45 seconds, they would cut the mic off.
Mm.
So I was really good at, and I had a guy at the gym that was helping me out at this time. And he would stop me in the middle of my workouts and, hey, give your philosophy of fitness to Bob here,
Yeah.
just make you say it, because it needed to come across, now I needed to know how to speak. This fitness started in 1986, I think, was the first fitness competition. And I believe it was the USA organization that I was in.
Mm.
And then I don't know when Fitness America started, but Fitness America started somewhere in that early 90s or 89. And then I know the Galaxy came out somewhere in the early 90s. So I was pretty much one of the very first true fitness girls. And I did the Fitness USA all the way up to 1995. I did the nationals. The cool thing with these organizations is they brought in different judges. Like, they were not all bodybuilding judges, which is what IFBB has pretty much right now. I moved to the hub of bodybuilding, and the women were all in bodybuilding. And so once I moved out there, I got work the first week I was there.
Mm.
And then I won my first show within the pro division through Jantana. She was hosting the Masters Olympia every year, and she put on the very first pro show, and she just invited all these different women. I had met her through the USA pageant that I had done, and the Fitness USA, and she invited me to her show. That's the first show I won. That's what gave me that first IFBB Fitness award, first fitness champion. And I was invited to the first Fitness Olympia in 1995. That year I moved in April of 95. So I competed at that big show of 200 girls in February. April, I moved to LA. I got work the first week. And then I just started working here in California with various things as I met through the industry. I got connected with an agency. I found a new choreographer who started teaching me hip hop, street dance, and my routine. And she worked with me on my routine. And I ended up winning my first show there, the Jantana. That's what gave me that award. And then I got hired with Kiana Tom's Flex Appeal for ESPN2. So I was hired to be a guest, and went for 3 weeks to Hawaii to film that. And then the Olympia came around. So by the time the Olympia happened, I was toast, and I was, that was in 95. So I was 24, and I didn't really have real good help on how to balance my training and nutrition and learn to, and get ready for that show. So, I mean, it was just such a whirlwind year. I mean, I showed up to the show at the Olympia, probably not my best. I came in, I think 7th or 9th, I don't remember, but I was there, and it's all of it helped my career get started. And I ended up in more magazines. I had this magazine here. This was my first cover on Muscle and Fitness, and that was actually in November of 94. Wow. So that one happened, kind of a fun random story how that happened, because it just, it happened, and I didn't know anything about, again, bodybuilding. I didn't know anything about the magazines. I just happened right time to meet the photographer for that. And Dennis Newman had just won. Are you familiar from the industry?
Yes.
Yeah, so he had just won the USA. So, and he already had a Weider contract. So there was a lot of that fun stuff going on all throughout my career. And that's kind of, I guess, what led us, all the way up. I won the Olympia in 98. I was the first Olympian to come into the figure division from fitness. I was the first girl to do fitness and figure Olympia. And so I had fun. I competed for almost 26 years between fitness and figure.
Mm, wow.
Yeah. I ended up leaving IFBB after 15 years, just kind of needed a break from that and doing something different for myself. If I was like, well, if I'm going to continue to compete, then I need to build somewhere where I felt I was not pushed down
Mm,
unfairly, I guess is what I was thinking. So without going story about all of that, but I got to compete. I did 2 shows, and one in 2010 and one in 2013. I won both the BFF figure pro championships, and then my last show was in 2016. I did 2 there in the UK,
mm,
and those were my last 2 shows. But yeah, it's almost 26 years.
wow.
It's good. And some of my shows in my 40s, I felt like I looked better than a lot of the other years. Muscle maturity, having been in a better place in life, and having different support, and having some freedom um, in my presentations and stuff, and how I wanted to present myself. And
Mm.
it's good. I know, gave you a
Wow.
lot there, didn't I?
Oh, yeah. So obviously, being in the industry for so long, right? A lot of things have changed, right? Especially probably with your training, your nutrition, looking back, at when you first started and how much you ate and the training to where you are now. Tell us a little bit about the differences and what you wish you maybe would have known sooner.
Mm. Well, I don't, oh gosh, that's a loaded question, I guess. I I don't know that there's anything that I wish that I had known. I have seen the changes, obviously at 55 now. It's been 30 something years, and as an athlete, I'm not at this point in a competitive state. So I'm learning how to manage the type of exercise to do, and what I feel like most good doing personally, with where my body is and where my physique is, and maintaining. There's just different expectations in life now than what I was doing for so long. So I have to manage that, because I'm an athlete through and through, and I love intensity. So if I'm learning how to manage what I really love doing, and the time I'm allowed to exercise, and where my body is, and being smart. But there's a couple of little things here and there that I did that kind of were overdone, and then I'm now learning how to recover from them. Nothing that's real major, but just some things that I'm like, okay, well, I wasn't maintaining myself, and then I went to try to do something that I didn't feel like I couldn't do, but my body kind of said, hey, you didn't prepare us well enough for that. So, but it's also given me out more learning how to recover from it. So there's that. I have a book I'm writing right now with the Hybrid Publisher. And then I have another project that I'm working on with another gal for an ebook and program, 7 days to strengthen your posture, physical and spiritual posture muscles. So,
Nice. I wanted to ask you, I mean, there's a lot of women out there that are watching this that maybe they're not competitive women. They've seen you over the years, they've seen your physique. Maybe they just want some, quick tips. Obviously there's no one tip that's going to change the world, but I think most girls, like, I can't speak for all of them, but I think most girls, they want to, they want to look fit, but they also want to have that booty. Like, I think a that's a lot of them think that they can just not eat, right? And it doesn't work like that. So obviously,
right.
you've achieved, such a high level in your career. Like, can you give, say, the average 120, we'll call it 120-pound girl, say 5'4", who's, she's going to the gym 5 days a week. She's maybe doing 45 minutes of cardio, an hour of weights on average. Just say this is kind of like her routine. Like, what kind of tips could you give her for, like, say she wants to build her physique, but just quick tips that you could give people out there when it comes to their, nutrition and health.
Well, no woman is ever average. So I have to first say that. And I am only 5'4" as well. So, and right now I'm sitting around 137 pounds. So think of those things so that people realize, and I'm about 14% body fat at this point. So just say that so that, if someone's trying to compare what I'm talking about. Now, the most important thing that anyone and all of us, no matter who we are, we've got to get in enough protein. And I understand through my research and my experience as we get older, just we need to be able to eat. We need to eat more protein, period. And so I tried to get people to focus on that, especially if they haven't focused on anything nutritionally, because we can't just go and say, let's change everything up at once, but we can at least focus on one thing. And I feel like the most important thing, like nutritionally, is getting in enough protein. And I like to say 1 gram of protein per ideal body weight. So I'm 137. My ideal body weight's probably like 132, 131, ideally. So that's what I would like to try to aim for every day. Now, do I get that in every day? Not every day, but a lot of days I do. Or I can at least say I can get in 100, 120 grams of protein. So I really focus on that and because if I'm focused on that, then I know that my muscles are going to be supplied, and then I'll come in and I'll add carbs in around my workouts. Like after my workouts, I will eat sweet potatoes or some fruit. But after my protein, and then I'll have that. Protein shakes are great source, and there's so many great protein shakes out there now. I mean, there's just tons of them. I found one the other day that at my local Sprouts. It's a little healthy food place. And I'm like, there's a lot of really good. Now, obviously the really high quality ones are more pricey, but I tend to want to spend my money on having higher quality food. So the higher quality food we can get in, obviously the better. And I'm sure everybody knows that. It's just, and I understand there's a lot of people out there that are vegan or vegetarian for their own reasons. But I know that makes it very hard to get in enough protein and not all the carbs. I'm not against carbs, but carbs have to have a place to go. They have to be used, and not everyone has, a bunch of time to just do endless cardio to burn carbs. And I do encourage people to find high quality protein powder that they can use, because typically a high quality protein powder is going to be high in leucine, and leucine is very important for the protein synthesis pathway to be started. So don't be afraid to get a good quality protein powder that you can use probably twice a day. Just get it in, protein content up. Just try to drink it, or I like to just kind of make a little pudding out of it. I use Egg White International, which I don't think you can get in Canada, unfortunately, but it's a high quality egg white, liquid egg white that's been pasteurized and filtered. And I use that twice a day in my coffee, in my tea, and bone broth. And I get in my protein powders. So I get high quality egg whites along with, the other protein that I'm utilizing. So those are ways that I get in my protein.
No, I was just going to say, is there kind of a rough ratio that you can give for us for fats and carbs? Like, let's just take you taking in 120 grams of protein. Like, what's the ratio roughly that someone could go off of? Like, for the average person who's not really familiar with nutrition?
Sure. Carbs are funny because some people do really well without a lot of carbs and some people don't. My suggestion with carbs is, first of all, don't be afraid of them, but use them appropriately and use them in the right timing. And the right timing is typically after a good, intense workout. Something that you've been more anaerobic in. Maybe you've gotten your heart rate, did some kind of sprints. Maybe you've done weight training, some sort of obstacle course training. I did obstacle course racing, and I did American Ninja Warrior stuff for about 5 years as well. And I did sprinting. I competed in my 40s with USATF Masters. So all of those need carbs to replace what you've burned. So don't be afraid of carb. Find a carb that you can utilize. My favorite is sweet potato and sometimes white potatoes. And I have them available for myself all the time. I've got them in my freezer. They're pre-cooked, pre-measured, and then wrapped really well for freezer. And I can just pull 1 or 2 little serving sizes out and eat them. I don't have to think about cooking every time, although I do like to bake them and eat them, right out of the oven too. So don't be afraid of carbs. You need carbs after your workouts. Now, depending on your other eating, if you're eating a bunch of carbs all the time, your body's never getting a break from the insulin burden. So we've got to kind of figure out where can you cut some carbs so that you can eat them appropriately. If you're someone that's eating a bunch of breads or cereal, pastries, or stuff, I'm assuming most of your people watching are not. But I think that we can do a good, a low carb intake of 20 to 30 grams done correctly. If your rest of your nutrition is good. I've seen, I've done stuff where I've been at 100 grams of carbs a day, but my intensity level of my training was very, very high on those days too. So, or I was super close to my competitions and super lean, and we were playing around with my food. So, I have done both. I've done super low, I've done no carbs, and I've done high carbs. So finding ways like that and not feel like every day has to be different. Because if I had to do my skincare or my makeup routine or my hair care different every day, I would go nuts and it wouldn't work. I mean, if I decided I'm just going to leave the house today and whatever I find out there to clean my face and moisturize my face with, I mean, that's not how we do our face. Like, you don't just go out in the middle of the day trying to figure out where you're going to clean your face or maybe find moisturizer or maybe, okay, I got to go to this store and get makeup. Like, that's what we do with food for the most part. I don't know what I'm eating when I'm eating it or where I'm going to eat it. And people are always like, I'm so hungry. I'm like, well, did you bring anything with you? No. It's easy. Anyway.
Can you give me like a kind of a rule of thumb, like a rough rule of thumb? Like, here, let me give you an example. When it comes to protein, carbs, and fats. So if I'm taking in 120 grams of protein, right? What is kind of like just a rough idea if you were to say to the, somebody who's working out, they're training intense, but they just kind of want a rule of thumb. Is it half the amount of carbs per protein? So is it, how much fat? Like, can you kind of give us a little bit, kind of just some insight onto that breakdown?
Well, like I just said, I think I think carbs need to just be used appropriately for replacing what we've just worked out. So if someone's working out hard, you could get by, I'm going to say females, I'm sure females eating the right kind of carbs, probably a good 50 grams per day.
How much is that? Sorry, it cut out there. 50 grams?
Oh, I'd say 50 and under, depending on the day. Like, I don't think we need a ton of carbs, personally. If you're a professional athlete, you might need that 120 to whatever carbs, depending on what when I was running track, I was a sprinter. So I was on the track 5 days a week, in the gym 3 days a week. I was training super hard and everything was anaerobic. Everything I did was anaerobic. I did not do any slow, nothing. Like, it was either all my sprinting and anaerobic and plyometrics, all that, and in the gym training heavy. So everything I did, I needed carbs. So I was taking in a lot of carbs.
Thank you so much for coming on Perform. I really appreciate it. You've been an amazing guest.
Hey, thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And y'all can, if you want to follow me, please, I'll be there on official Monica Brant on IG. I am rebuilding. I lost my account in 2020, so it's been a slow rebuild. Facebook, Monica Brant, and then I'm also monicabrant.com if you want to find me on my website. So thank you, Jason. Appreciate you having me.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Monica.
Bye.
Bye.